When Belle Tress first released the International City Collection, they were placed on pre-order in the month of May, and they were to start shipping in July. Well, when I ordered the International City Collection, I ordered Singapore as in one of the styles. Well, would you believe it just arrived? And I know it's not just me. Everyone that I have seen with Singapore were saying it just arrived, it just arrived. So I don't know what Belle Tress did, but it just arrived. Anyway, when I looked at it, I thought, wow, it looks like quite a few other styles. So I'm going to show you, because sometimes we look at those stock photos. I think I sound like a broken record. We look at the stock photos and they all seem so similar. I also think that if one is on back order for a color that we want, we can get another style that is quite similar to it. With Singapore, I'm only going to show the cap once, because all of these have the same cap. The only difference is going to be that some have a left part and some have a center part. Singapore has a left part, an extended lace front, felt covered ear tabs, an extended nape, and Velcro adjusters. This is pretty much what we're going to find in all of the City collections, and we're also going to find it on the Cafe E collection. This one is in Crushed Almond Blonde R. I have a 21.5-inch circumference, and I cinch it in all the way to the center in order to have a proper fit. I just took it out of the box, so I'm going to fool around with it just a little bit. This is just some water. This is not really a wig review. I just want to show you how similar these styles are. From the ones I'm going to show you today, Singapore is the shortest. The front on Singapore is between 11 and 12.5 inches. We don't have any face framing layers. It's all one length at the front. The layers that we're going to have are going to be on the sides. They start out at about 4.5 inches or so. Very loose, very kind of beachy waves on it. It only weighs 3.8 ounces, no permatease, and the density is very light. This is one of the lowest density ones that I'm going to show you today. Really, really pretty style. I really like it, but it's very similar to some of the others. This is Chicago in the color Mocha Maple Brown. With Chicago, we're going to have us about an inch longer, and we're going to have more layering. We have more layering on the front, and we also have more choppy layers throughout. Unlike Singapore, that is more of a beachy wave, with Chicago, it's a layered style. If you like layers, this is similar to maybe Sydney, but Sydney has the bangs. If you like mellow from Aesthetica, it's very, very similar. The difference is going to be that with Chicago, we're not going to have any permatease. We're going to have a light density, and we're going to have a slightly longer style with Chicago than what we see on Mellow. But it's still a very layered style, and here's the face framing layers, which we didn't see on Singapore. Chicago has a left part, and all the features are exactly the same as we saw on Singapore. And as for the density between in Chicago and on Singapore is very similar. They weigh Singapore weighs 3.8 ounces and Chicago weighs 3.9 ounces. So it's basically the same exact density. This is Modena and Coolest Ash Brown R. The main difference between Modena and Chicago and Singapore is that Modena has a center part while the others have a left part. So since not everyone likes that center part, maybe one of those two will be better options for you. I like a center part, so it makes no difference to me. With Modena, we're going to have more, it's a different type of a wave. It's not going to be the layers that we see on Chicago. It's not going to be the beachy waves that we see on Singapore. It's kind of straighter towards the top and just a little bit of waves at the bottom. Also, as far we have a little bit more face framing layers. Here are the shorter pieces, which we didn't see in Singapore, but we do see in Chicago. We do have kind of like that layering there on the front. The density is going to be slightly higher on Modena than what we saw on Singapore or Chicago. The density is 4.3 ounces. It doesn't feel like high density to me. It feels like a low density, as are most Belle Tress, but in comparison, it is a little bit higher density. No permatease, just as we find on the others, because that's also typical for Belle Tress. It's a really pretty style if you just want a little bit of waves at the bottom, kind of straighter towards the top, and if you don't mind having a center part. Modena is also slightly longer than the others. Modena has an overall of the longest part of 16 inches, so it is slightly longer than what we saw on Chicago or Singapore. This is Peerless 14 from Cafe E Collection in the color Oyster Gray Mix. I wanted to throw this one in today's video. I want to throw it in today's video because Peerless 14 is the one with the highest density. It's a little bit different than what we saw on the others. And there are many wearers that prefer a bit higher density. Peerless 14 weighs 5.1 ounce, while the others that I showed you, Singapore and Chicago, for example, that weigh just a little over 3 ounces, and Modena that weighs about 4 ounces. Here we have a full ounce more, or almost 2 ounces more than some of the others. That's the other reason that I wanted to show it to you, is because there are different colors available in the City, in the Cafe E collection, than what we find on the City collection. If you don't mind having a center part, if you want a little bit higher density, but you still want the layers, there's also more layers on the front. So if you wanted to leave a bang, you can certainly do that and just do a slight trim. Since it's got a center part, it's very, very easy to just do that trim on there. And if you like to have the a curtain bang, or you want to have just a slight framing on the face, then Peerless 14 is a good one to go with. Such as we saw on Chicago with Peerless 14. We're going to have layers, and very loose layers, where it's not going to be beachy waves. It's not really going to be so wavy as we found maybe on Singapore. This is much looser, but it's got that center part. So unless you really like a center part, or you want a style where you can leave a bang, then you may want to consider one of the others. As for the length, we're going to have just about the same length as we saw on Singapore or we saw on Chicago. And we don't have as much layering here, but we do have some layers. I think the way to choose is if you want a little bit more of a wave, or you want a center part, or you want a left part, you want lower density, and also the colors that are available. I hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know if you like one of these. I would love to hear from you. I hope that everyone is having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye.